What's going on? What's going on, everybody? It is the new and improved Only Sports Podcast. That's Casino over there. I don't know if you can see our fancy background. I assume you can if you're watching us. If you're listening, you can only imagine. But if you're listening, you can look at our new podcast logo. Yeah. What do you think of all the new setup, Casino?
What? Sorry, I'm in the middle of defeating a boss on my game. I'm doing important shit here. No, but I do like. Yeah, no, cool. No, I just did it. I do like the new setup. No, it looks good. You made it really big. The Only Sports Podcast. I think it's a little drawing to the eye, where I'm not even focused on you or me, which is not normal. All I'm staring at right now is only. Just the word only. I'm staring at it. No, but I love the new logo. I'm really happy we went with that. We've been trying. Before we started this whole thing, we tried to get a good logo down, and we had some people try to do some designs. We weren't really feeling it, and then he found this generic one right here, and now we've got this. Gaboom, gabashinga. It looks good.
It looks good. But what is it? Also, one of those pictures was of my wife's ass at the bottom. So if you want to zoom in and do that, you can see it. There you go. That's a little treat to the listeners out there, or the watchers, I guess, out there. But yeah, it is I'm not good at making this kind of shit. So if this one looks kind of trash, like I don't really like how it looks, but it's the only thing we have at the moment. I'm gonna make a better one for next one. I do like the logo, but that was like a template that I just moved a couple things around, took some things out, added some things. So yeah, I'm not good at all this. And if I'm not good at this, Casino is, I mean, borderline like childlike in trying to create things. It's so we're
I mean,
not...
I could be like Picasso, or then go and just make some random shit and call it art. Speaking of that, I fucking can't. Speaking of art, just going on a real quick tangent here. The people that do like that, like poke holes and thing, do like the spinny paint art shit. That's not fucking art. You're literally spinning paint around on a blackboard. Woo! Artist.
You know what?
My little kid will throw her shit around and hits a wall. Art. It's fantastic.
I'm so glad we're talking about this on the Only Sports Podcast, because I would love your hot take on this, Casino. Hot take on what you think, like, the moral ramifications of AI art are. Because every fucking day there's a new like app that is doing something. I literally just got an ad for this app that is like AI art, where you hold a camera up to, like, like those games where it's like, oh, somebody filled a giant jar with jelly beans, right? You hold the camera up to that jar, and within 5 seconds it counts every jelly bean in there and tells you what it is. Like, what computers can do, like the AI art app or whatever just won like art contest against other humans and stuff. Like, this is scary shit. But it's also like, they're not really painting original stuff. They're just taking all the images about that kind of subject from online pictures that already exist and then making their own picture, which is weird. I don't know. Thoughts, Casino, on the AI art debate?
It's not art, as the fact that you said, it pulls from other things that already exist. I mean, I guess, I don't know. I'm scared of AI. I'm not like where it's going to be like iRobot thing where they're going to come running at us full speed and with like a hammer and like chop off our face. I don't know. Not like that.
Have robot blades.
Yes. So I'm thinking that we're at least a good while away from that. I don't think we will see that in our lifetime, to where literal robots will be like, ha ha ha, here, die, and cut you up. But I do have a fear that with how crazy AI and technology has gotten, it will cause issues on a worldwide scale where you don't know who's actually talking.
Yeah.
Like
Oh, that
that's
no, those are the creepiest ones where they do dude, I don't know if you just they're like doing it for like fun now, like acting like it's like no big deal as if this couldn't be used to start wars and all this kind of bad shit in the future. Did you see the fucking clip of Jimmy Kimmel just celebrated like his like 20 years on the air and they had regular real life Kimmel on one side, kind of like the screen setup we have here. So you would be the regular Jimmy Kimmel in 2023. They had him talking to the version of himself from his first show 20 years ago, but they're like having an actual conversation with each other and it was all done like through computers live. So he's
no.
literally talking to himself from 20 years ago and they're having just like an actual conversation as if it's those two. It's fun. Like
I
that's
didn't see that
it's
one, but I see
crazy.
where they put the two AI talking together.
Oh yeah, and they're talking about the weather and how they don't exist or whatever. Like the fuck. But this was a good tangent to start this new and improved Only Sports podcast because who knows? Maybe we'll be replaced by two talking AI robots. I feel like sports talk would be the easiest thing because it's all just stats and being like, this guy's better than this guy. And then you just put a fucking personality bot and we're done, Casino. We're
And that's what
done.
the bot does right there. This guy is
Yeah.
better than this guy.
But speaking of sports, despite the
Let's get
first
into
8
that.
minutes of this podcast, we are a sports podcast. In fact, we're the only sports podcast. So, Casino, would you like to talk about? Let me look at this piece of paper. Sports.
Only if we're able to talk about sports. That was my hot take. I don't know. I was trying to think of something on the fly. I'm not good at it like you. You're top tier.
um, and I almost just Googled sports instead of the real thing I was actually just looking at. But let's let's talk about who
You know
might
what?
be
I
the
am
king
just
of sports, Casino. He's definitely the king of sports in your heart. Uh, Tom Brady officially retired, literally like I think 2 hours after we recorded our last podcast. So that was great timing on that. But thoughts on Tom Brady retiring on the today we're recording this February 3rd, the anniversary of the Falcons Patriots Super Bowl. Which in your eyes, before we get into Tom Brady, is that your favorite Super Bowl of all the ones your
it,
team has won?
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Also,
I'd say so.
I think for the
I'm
drama of it,
go for it.
I really think it's either that one or Patriots Eagles. I think those are the two best Super Bowls, maybe ever, maybe in I definitely in our lifetime.
That's fair. But no,
But as far
I am, you know, it's time. I'm sad. I want to play in San Fran one year just to get that off of his bucket list. It sucks that he's going out on a shitty. You froze. Are we still good? Are we good? There we are.
yeah, we're still good.
It just sucks that he's going out on a bad season. But again, we've talked about this. That wasn't him this season. I really don't. I don't think so. But a lot of people are like, oh well, he's not done. We'll see. He'll be back. You know, he's done. He's done. Because the first time he retired, you found out via this giant written thing statement. Oh, retiring, blah blah blah. You know, thank all these people. No. So this time around, it was just him on a beach sitting there, and you could tell the emotion when he was just trying to like say like
Yeah.
thanks everybody for supporting me. He's done. Like this was a big moment for him. He's done. He didn't tell anybody about it. Nobody like he was the one to release it. Tom Brady sat there, took a video,
Yeah.
released it, said, "I'm done. Bye guys." So he is done. I don't see him ever returning. Um, and and that whole debate, I think we talked about it a long time ago in one of our beginning episodes. The reason he came out of retirement, I think that his wife was they were already going to get a divorce, and I think he was retiring to try to save his divorce. And then
Or
she was
save
like,
his
"No, I'm
marriage, you mean?
still, or yeah, save his marriage." And they're like, "Ah, no, you know, she's like, "Oh, we're still going to get a divorce." Or they both were like, "Yeah, we're going to go through this." And he's like, "Well, then I'm going to go play football then."
Yeah.
And that's what I think happened. But
Well,
um,
this was also, I feel like, the first season we've seen him play where he literally just didn't look like he wanted to be playing anymore. Like, usually he's like the fired up guy trying to rally the troops on the sideline. This
yeah,
time,
I think he was trying to
every
take his
time it
mind
would,
off of his actual life, but it just
yeah,
bothered him still.
I think he's going to
Um,
be a great
oh,
analyst, like on Fox or whatever. I think he's going to be really good. He's
I mean,
like,
If Tony Romo can do it, he can do it.
well, I don't even want to see him in a booth calling games. I want to see him on like pre-game and post-game shows, like breaking the game down and stuff like that. I feel like he's
We,
sneakily charismatic and like funnier than he gets credit for. I
so
think he would actually be
you
really
want
good.
him to be on the shows like with Bradshaw and all of them, and
Yes.
that'd
Yeah.
be great.
Well,
Uh, did you like how Gronk was on there?
I mean, if Gronk can do it, anybody can do it.
Yeah.
You really just have to be like an entertaining personality. It doesn't even really
Well,
matter.
he's gonna be much better than the panel with Fitzmagic and
Oh,
uh,
what is that? The only one I
oh
watch is the Fox one. The
uh,
CBS one is boring as shit. I don't.
no,
And
so
then
like they have like the in-game one where I mean we've talked about it on here where Fitzmagic like they're at the desk like on the field before the game. It's Fitzmagic. It is uh oh my gosh, the famous tight end
Tony
retired.
Gonzalez.
Yes, Tony Gonzalez. He's on there. Richard Sherman's on there.
Oh,
It's
that
an
was the
awful
Prime one, right? The
yeah. The
Amazon
I
Thursday
guess
one.
yeah, sure.
Yeah,
So dude, it was so bad. It was so bad. Tom Brady's gonna be 10 times better than that. Um,
yeah,
so just also touching on that to put into perspective, I sent this to you. My buddy sent this to me. Just to put into perspective on how long Tom Brady's been playing. This one blows my mind.
yeah.
Between Tom Brady's first, and this is not even how long he's played. Tom Brady's first and seventh Super Bowl ring, Troy Polamalu was drafted, played 12 years, and was inducted into the Football Hall of Fame before Brady, in between that span of Brady's first and last ring. Like, that's insane.
That
That's just,
the Another, I mean, that one's fucking crazy. Another stat I saw that is fucking insane is he doesn't have a losing record against any team in the NFL, and there's like 3 teams he is undefeated against in his entire fucking career. Wish Dallas was still on that list, but then Dallas beat him in the playoffs. So he's no longer undefeated against them. But I believe it was the Patriots because he only played once. I think it was the Patriots, the Packers, and maybe the Buccaneers, I want to say.
hmm.
So it was like 3 teams he's never lost to. He has a winning record against every other team. And then multiple people have talked about this and posted this, and it's pretty fucking remarkable where in his 20s he had a Hall of Fame career. Like if you just go by the numbers. If you go by his 20s, he had a Hall of Fame career. If you go by his 30s, he had a Hall of Fame career. And if you go by his 40s, he had a Hall of Fame career. It was like
Safe to
two
say he's
Super
a Hall
Bowl
of
wins.
Famer.
Yeah, 2 Super Bowl wins in his 20s, 3 in his 30s, 2 Super Bowl wins in his 40s, and like his career stats and passing touchdowns, all of that is first. What Now here's my question, Casino. At this current moment, he's the best quarterback in NFL history. It's
Dang
not
it.
even
You
a
beat me to
fucking
this. I was going to
debate.
ask you this question, but go for it.
It's not a debate. He's the best ever. Anybody who says otherwise, you're fucking dumb. He's the best ever. There's no
But
competition.
he cheated. But he cheated.
No.
He didn't cheat. There was no proof on anything, and I will deep down dive into all those cheating fucking scandals, and it pisses me off.
We should do a special Tom Brady
I'll do it right
episode,
now. I'll
Casino.
just do it right now.
No, we don't have time. We
Fuck
don't
it,
have
we'll do it
time.
live.
We'll do. But so my question to you, Casino, is obviously we talked about this last episode. Patrick Mahomes is legitimately the only real threat since Brady has even been in
Mhm.
the league, right? To being the GOAT, the best quarterback we've ever seen. Mechanically and stat wise, already, he's had like the best first 5 years of any quarterback in NFL history, right? Just like the numbers he's put up, how many championships he's went to, Super Bowls, he's now been to 3 in his first 5 years, blah 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 blah. My question is, if what Tom Brady got to, how many Super Bowls did the Patriots lose? 2, right?
Um,
3?
so they've lost. So what do? They lost 2 to the Giants. They lost
2
2
to
to the
the
Giants,
Giants.
one to the Eagles, and then they lost one long ways ago, like in the
Didn't they
70s or
also
something.
lose it to the Seahawks? Did they play the Seahawks twice? No.
No,
So
Denver did, I
that's it,
think.
right? They
Yeah, it
only
was
lost to the
Denver
Eagles and the
because the
Giants.
Patriots lost to the Denver that year. Manning was on his last year, where
Yeah,
we missed the
they had
field
that crazy
goal.
defense.
You missed the field goal. We had to go for a 2-point conversion. Gronk couldn't catch it, and it like fell right in front of him. And yeah,
So then that means with the Patriots, he went 6-3 in Super Bowls, right?
hmm
So Patrick Mahomes currently is 1-1. He won the one against the 49ers, lost the one against, ironically, Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. I also think he's going to lose to the Eagles, but we'll talk more about the Super Bowl next week. So let's say Patrick Mahomes has, uh we'll play devil's advocate right here. He wins 2, right? So he wins against the Eagles, he won against the 49ers. How many more would he have to win to be considered greater than Tom Brady if
greater
he
than Tom
also,
Brady.
what the best,
Great.
if Patrick Mahomes, if we're going to project and say he's the best quarterback who ever played, do you think he has to win minimum 6?
So I would say that he has to hit the same amount as Brady to be classified as better than Brady. He has to hit at minimum the same amount. Obviously, if you
Yeah.
go over more, you know, there you go. You can start talking about that. But it's not just the Super Bowl thing on how many wins you have. You need to start beating records, which I'm sure if he continue, we've talked about this, I think last episode, if he continues with the streak that he's on, yeah, he can break almost all those records, if not all of them. So it's just now, can he do what Tom Brady did and
For the
last as
longevity.
long as he did? Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so you got to do, you got to do 2 things. You have to be damn near perfect for your career. I mean, obviously, there's no such thing as perfection. Brady wasn't perfect, but you have to be to almost that level, to almost perfect, um, at like Brady was. Also, and then you have to go as long as Brady did. And if you do all of that, and the only way you could, I say, you could, if you say that he's only wins 6 Super Bowls, you have to reach all these stats and all these Super Bowl marks way quicker than Brady did. That's, I
Yeah.
mean, it there it's not impossible for Mahomes, but that means, and it's going to be tough to in this era of football, with people getting paid like crazy. Um, but you're going to have to be on the right teams. You're going to have the right weapons, coaching, all of that. Somebody was
Well,
talking about it the other day, and it made really good sense. Was Tom Brady kind of lucked out in a way where the Patriots were good for so long because Brady was able to take pay cuts because he had already won. He did what was tough to do in the very beginning of his career. He won Super Bowl, not just one, not just 2. He won 3 Super Bowls in 4 years.
mhm.
So he's done it. At that point, it's like, okay, how can we make this a long-term thing? I'm not going to be the highest paid quarterback in the league. So amount he was able to pay cuts, and a lot of those players that stuck around with him were able to take pay cuts, and I think that's why we had the Patriots had multiple like little dynasties, like their whole thing was dynasty, but they had the couple Super Bowls and then another couple Super Bowls, is because after they won that first one, people were like, okay, I'll take another pay cut. I'll take another pay cut.
Yeah.
Danny Amendola in those last three, or he wasn't on that last one, was he? I don't remember, but he was taking pay cuts for years. He took pay cut 4 years in a row before they got the Super Bowl, and he's like, you know what, I'm off. I'm going to go get paid, and good for him. He did. It's
Yeah.
awesome. So winning that first Super Bowl is big, and Kansas City has done that too a little bit. But you just imagine if Kelsey, if they win again this year, just imagine if Kelsey, Mahomes, and all of them, they all just take pay cuts, but they want to keep playing together. Oh man, there
Yeah.
you go. Now you're
Well,
setting up
no,
for a good
well,
future.
also with the Patriots whole dynasty thing, the also like kind of thing that was out of Brady's control that's going to hurt Patrick Mahomes if like this trend continues, what we've seen this year is Brady for almost 15, 16 of those 20 years he was with the Patriots was in a shit division. Like where
Oh yeah,
every other team in that division was just chronically bad for the entire time. So that guaranteed you not only a division every year, but that guaranteed you minimum 6 wins, right? And like you
that's a
look
good
at
point.
his numbers against the Bills, the Jets, the Dolphins, like it's fucking insane. Like it's crazy what his win to loss percentage is. The thing that's going to hurt Patrick Mahomes is if you're going to be in a division against Justin Herbert, who we'll talk about when we get into the new NFL coaches. If Justin Herbert and the Chargers can get their shit together, even for like a 5-year window, then that means not only are you not guaranteed a division, you're not even guaranteed like 1 or 2 games that Tom Brady would get. Who knows? And then there's also like the unknown. The Raiders weirdly always play the Chiefs really tough. We saw from this year the Broncos have like this crazy amazing defense and they played the Chiefs really tough. So also the thing is Brady was never hurt for that except for that 1 year where he missed the entire season. Mahomes, we've already seen in his first 5 years, he gets pretty banged up pretty often. Like
That's a good
he is
point.
always missing a game here, a game there, and eventually those injuries are going to catch up to you. They were saying the end Peyton Manning was the best quarterback in the league in like 2013 or whatever, and then like 2 years after that he couldn't even feel the football in his hands because the injuries had fucked up his hands so much that like he couldn't even grip the ball. So it's like it can happen that fast because it literally just takes one too many hits and then you're done. Like you can't throw the ball. Or again, Tom Brady, the consistency is what's most impressive because everybody before this season would have said Russell Wilson is a surefire first ballot Hall of Famer, and then all
Oh
of a
yeah.
sudden fell off a cliff in one season. So there's so many factors that were just out of Tom Brady's control that he just got so, I don't want to say lucky, but it pretty much is lucky to be like
Yeah.
in that kind of division, never really take any bad hits. The only injury you got was one injury where you were able to rest for an entire year to recover from it. And then you came back and it was just like, okay, now I'm good again. And then you got the great coach, you got the great defenses, like all these things.
That really helped him is he had a great defense almost his entire career.
Yeah. Well, I think that's one of the main reasons why he went to the Bucks, right? Because that defense when he first got to the Bucks that's what won them that Super Bowl against the Chiefs. Like
I would
they
agree.
shut down Mahomes that entire game. Like that was one of the most impressive defensive games I think I've ever
Continue
seen.
talking. I got to blow my nose. If you need to move to the next segment, go for it. I'm
Yeah.
still a little under the weather from beginning of the week.
It's okay. It's okay, Casino. Last thing I will say about Tom Brady, which I think is lucky in terms of Patrick Mahomes, is these great quarterbacks who last this long are always connected to a coach, right? So obviously Tom Brady got Bill Belichick and then they were able to stay together that entire career. Bill Belichick could do the defense, Tom Brady would do the offense, Josh McDaniels is in there, blah, blah, blah. My
Josh McDaniels
issue,
stood on the sideline.
yeah, the thing I would hesitate with Patrick Mahomes is how much longer do we think Andy Reid is really going to coach? Because
There you
Andy
go.
Reid is older. He's getting up there. He's been in this league a long time. I mean, I love Andy Reid. He was the first
I do
coach
too.
on my team, but he's also an overweight guy, getting older. Like it's going to start getting
Whoa,
harder,
whoa,
like
whoa!
that
What's
kind
wrong
of
with being
stuff.
overweight, huh?
I mean, if you're
Easy.
overweight and older, like that's going to be an issue with like longevity and all that kind of stuff. So I think that because let's say, so Patrick Mahomes has been in 5 years. If he wants to catch all the Brady records, be the best ever, blah, 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 he'd have to play
Want to catch
15
them
more
all?
years.
Sorry.
Do we really think that at this moment, Andy Reid could coach 15 more years? Like, there's no shot. No shot.
Well, I
Could he
mean,
coach another?
could
Go
he
ahead.
coach that long? Probably. Does he want to? No. Belichick doesn't have anything else to do. Plus, his sons coach with him, so it's like he's able to see his family all the time. It's not
Let's
like,
see.
oh no,
Yeah.
oh no.
Andy Reid right now Andy Reid right now is 64 years old. Bill Belichick is 70. So that means 20 years ago when Tom Brady first started, Bill Belichick was 50. When Andy Reid first drafted Patrick Mahomes, he was already 10 years older than when Belichick got Brady. So everybody keeps saying, "Oh, well, how many
That's what I said.
seasons
He would
does
have to go to
Belichick
another good.
have?"
He
And
would have
that's
to
when
go
he's
to another good team or a team with a coach.
yeah.
That's
So
what I said. That's what I
realistically,
said.
realistically, I believe the two oldest coaches in the league are Pete Carroll, who is 71, which is fucking crazy because he looks like in better shape than I am. And he's
Yeah.
71.
Well, it's
And
because all
then,
that it's all that gum chewing. He's got a great jawline, just out there. Hum, nom, 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 nom.
uh, and then the other one is Bill Belichick at 70. So those two guys, they have maybe 5 more years. So by that token, Andy Reid maybe has 10 more years. So maybe they can do it when him and Patrick Mahomes have been together for 15 years. But I don't know if Andy Reid, like you said, wants to coach for 10 more years. He's
Yeah.
64 years old. Like at one point, we've kind of seen it with Belichick the past couple seasons. At one point, the game kind of passes you by. Like it's like the tendencies you used to have where it's like, who gives a shit if we don't have an offensive coordinator? Just have that guy call the plays. And then your offense is shit. And you're just like, oh shit, maybe we should segue into hiring a new offensive coordinator or something like that. So see what I did there, Casino?
It
See what
did.
I did there? So Casino, now we're going to get into the NFL news of the week, which is all these new coaches and coordinators being hired. I made a list of probably the most important ones. Let's start first with your team hiring back Bill O'Brien to be the offensive coordinator. You have to be ecstatic with
Gotcha.
this move because how could you not be?
I'm really happy. Um, not not just because. Oh, come on. My sorry, my computer's being slow. Um, not not because he used to be up the with the Patriots. I like him as a coordinator. I think he's a decent coach.
Yeah.
Is he the best coach out there? No, but you don't need to be the best coach if you're good at one thing. He's good at the offensive coach. Um, it will be fun to watch and see that wonderful soul sucking dent in his chin. That always bothers me. I'm sorry. I just wanted to look it up so I could just stare at it. So that's why I'm my computer was slow. It was trying to get away from the sucking power of that spot in his chin, which I don't know what he got it from. It, probably something surgery or something. But anyway, no. I'm
Yeah,
that
I
aside.
think
I'm all over the place tonight or tonight. See tonight. I'm still off. I've got that what BJ had when he had COVID, but that just sick brain. But legitimately 100. I think this is one of the best moves they could have done is get Bill O'Brien back in there.
Yeah.
Even if we don't go after a quarterback and the Patriots still keep Zappy and Mac Jones, which I'm sure they're going to do because they never want to go for any good players. I really think this is going to help him because you saw the drop off from when
Oh,
McDaniels
yeah.
was with the Patriots and was working with Mac Jones. Mac Jones looked really good, really good. And I don't know if that was a play calling thing or if it was just Mac had a good season and just kind of went from there. But I really think this is
Well,
going to help out the Patriots
the
tremendously.
thing I feel like that's really undervalued with like
Sorry.
offenses and defenses is that the three things you really need are like scheme, personnel, and then the ability to like pull off what you're trying to do. So like the last two kind of go hand in hand because I've seen as an Eagles fan last year, Jonathan Gannon's defense was way worse than it was this year. And guess what? It was because he didn't have the personnel to plug into the system he wanted to implement. So a year later, when he all of a sudden in the offseason, they got all the players he needed to make this defense work. Guess what? His defense is way better and it works to a T, right? They have like one of the most dominant defenses ever. So that only, okay, you can take that, but uh, but yeah, and then when it comes to players, it's knowing you obviously couldn't run the same offense you have with Lamar Jackson than you do with what Tom Brady, right? Because they have two different skill sets. So you have to like build and tailor make
You're
your
breaking up.
system to fit your personnel. What? Yeah.
Yeah. I
But
said I was breaking up with you.
oh.
It might be my toaster.
But yeah, so I feel like one of the underrated things of
You're
coaching
saying.
is just building, the system, having the players to plug it in. So with Bill O'Brien, like Mac Jones isn't Tom Brady, but he's the same kind of player in terms of he's not a Lamar Jackson or like this super athletic guy. He's this stand in the pocket, draw up good schemes on the side for your wide receivers, your tight ends to get open, and then just score points, which is what your team didn't do all last season.
No, we would
Oh,
have been
you
a really
can
good
tell
team this
grandma.
year if we were able to score points because the defense was phenomenal. So um,
Yeah.
the defense
Well,
was really
like
good,
so many
even with
teams.
getting away like three of our really good defensive players. So yeah,
Yeah.
it is really nice. Also, we're getting another Alabama guy coming with him. Assistant coach was it Will Lawing? I think is how you say his name. I don't know how to say his name last name perfect, but I love the connection that Belichick has with Alabama. It's just
It's weird.
amazing. It's just like
It's weird.
feed me. I hate Alabama and Nick Saban. He can
Yeah.
shove it up his ass. Play hard teams in the regular season, but I do like the fact that he's got a good connection with one of the strongest, if not the strongest, college football team. Belichick,
Yeah.
knows the in and outs of players and coaches. But yeah,
Well,
coaching is a big thing, so it's nice to have it. Finally,
so the next up, probably uh the most expensive hire is also probably one of the best in terms of coordinator jobs, which is Vic Fangio is being paid almost $5 million to be the defensive coordinator for the Dolphins, which is fucking insane. But apparently, from all reports, that's the price they had to offer him because apparently other teams were going to match that offer. And then he chose to go to Miami. So there's certain
that's
people
crazy.
like how we talked about with Bill O'Brien, where they're great coordinators and great at what they do, but then they're not great head coaches. Vic Fangio is like maybe the textbook definition of that. One of the best defensive coordinators in the league, but as a head coach, with 2 years with the Broncos, he was like like very forgettable, and just those teams weren't good, but the man can coach a defense. Which, speaking of men
We
who can
watched it.
coach,
We watched
yeah.
it.
The other hiring is where did I just have it? Oh, Nathaniel Hackett, who was the Denver Broncos coach last season. He's now going to the Jets, and then the Jets are bringing in, or no, the Jets are losing Matt LaFleur to the Rams as their OC. So, thoughts on
The
those moves?
um the Patriots division, that AFC East just got really difficult, in my opinion. This really kind of be the battle of the coaches who can get their team up to par and who can do better scouting on the other team. Um, so with us just talking about that division and all these coaches going to those teams, and you mentioned the Jets, what are the odds of Rodgers now going possibly to the Jets? What do you think about
Well,
that?
those are the three names the three names I had here for quarterback. Was talking about Tom Brady retiring, and then Aaron Rodgers. Apparently, his two choices are either the Jets or the Raiders, and the Packers have almost officially come out and been like, we don't want Rodgers on our team next year, and apparently
Here,
Aaron
but
Rodgers, who does
I understand
his,
that, but I don't want,
yeah,
my thought is, and to see if you agree with me here, why would you leave the NFC right now? Why would you leave?
yeah, that's
Brady's
my,
leaving. San Fran is going to be wondering what they're going to do with the quarterback. Like, there's so much movement in quarterback in the NFC that you have a shot. Like, there's going to be a lot of teams that, like, we're just like, what's their identity in the NFC going next year? Because there's going to be so much movement. Why not stay there? But obviously, it's not just it's a disconnect with Green Bay. He's lost a locker room. I
yeah.
truly think that he's going to go to the Raiders. I don't think he's going to go to the Jets. I think he wants to go to a team that is almost Super Bowl ready. The Jets, they still got a lot to do, but they desperately need a quarterback. But the Raiders, I think overall have a better team. And why wouldn't he want to go play with his previous receiver? Why wouldn't he want to go play um, with why am I blanking?
Devontae Adams.
Devontae Adams. Thank you. I mean,
Yeah.
apparently there's been push for Devontae trying to get Rodgers to go down there or
Well, it's
here,
also,
Vegas.
I don't know if I would say the Raiders have a better roster than the Jets, because the Jets had a top 5 defense and one of the worst offenses we've ever seen, and they still won what, more games than the Raiders? And but then again, you're right. So first off, the Packers have come out and said if they
Sorry to
were to
jump
trade,
from the coaches talk to the quarterback talk,
oh
but
no, this all ties in. But the Packers have basically said, if we're trading Rodgers, we're going to make sure it's to the AFC. But I'm in agreement with you, which is, everybody said it all year. The NFC just feels wide open in terms of like, what good teams with good quarterbacks do we have? Obviously, before the start of the season, Jalen Hurts was still a mystery, and this has been a 1 year resurgence, or dominant season to show that he is, I think at this moment, like, how can you not say it, he's of what he's done this
so
season
let
to
me ask you
me.
this. Do you think they've got a really good shot of making the Super Bowl again next year? Your team?
Well, I mean, hopefully they win it this year first, but
Well,
I
I know,
do,
but I'm just saying, like, the
yeah.
I think all
Well,
like the superstar quarterbacks are in the AFC right now. You have good NFC quarterbacks, but
this was going to be my question to you. For the NFC right now, let's say Rodgers does go to an AFC team, doesn't matter which one. So if Rodgers leaves the NFC, are the two best NFC quarterbacks after that move, would it be Jalen Hurts and Dak Prescott?
oh,
Would
easily.
those be the two
Yeah.
best in the NFC?
Yeah, in my opinion, that would be, yeah,
I mean, who else would even be in contention right there? Maybe Stafford for the Rams if he comes back.
Lawrence maybe. I like his fight.
Who?
Trevor Lawrence, right? That's
He's in the Jaguars. He's
yeah.
AFC. I
Oh,
said
yeah,
the
that's
the
right.
two best
Huh.
quarterbacks in the
In the
NFC.
NFC. My bad. Thank you. Sorry.
So let's
Sick
see with
brain. Sick
this.
brain.
I honestly think it would be if I was ranking 5 right now, it'd be like Hurts 1, Prescott 2, uh number 3 would probably be Kirk Cousins, right? Like in the NFC?
And that's crazy to think that they would, because Dak and Kirk, they're not on that top scale. They're not that top tier quarterback.
No.
They're
And
they're
Hurts,
still
I
really
honestly feel
they're
like it's
really
too easy
good.
to
They're really
tell.
good, but yeah, no, I would agree.
And then I would honestly probably put like Goff and Geno Smith as like 4
Hmm.
and 5?
Oh,
Like
Gino, that's the greatest compliment you've ever given him that he's ever received.
Uh, but yeah, and then
Stud.
the other
Love.
quarterback in that whole scenario is the former Raiders quarterback Derek Carr, which apparently I read a report this morning. There's strong interest from the Saints for Derek Carr to go to the Saints. I think he would immediately be a top 5 NFC quarterback if he went to the Saints. Like the Saints have a pretty damn good roster. They just had Andy Dalton at quarterback last year, and I think Derek Carr is at least two rings above him, like 2 rungs on the ladder above current Andy Dalton.
I Yeah, I would agree. I mean, it's just it was to me, it was strange that they got rid of Carr in the first place. I think he's a good quarterback. It really bothered me that they got rid of him.
Especially the way they got rid of him, like so unceremoniously and kind of just like, oh yeah, we're like done with Derek Carr. And then they just like benched him. And then this offseason, they're just kind of just like, oh yeah, we're just gonna focus on the future. And then it's just he's like also now an AFC alternate in these weird Pro Bowl games they've been doing all week that I haven't watched any of, but
Which we should
apparently
talk
he's been like
about
lighting
that.
it up. I mean, we
Like,
can before we get into
well, I mean,
the
we don't
head
have a lot of
coaches.
shit, man. I don't have a lot of time. Well, I have time, but we'll have to take that break. But yeah,
Yeah.
uh, I was just gonna say I just think it's funny in the Pro Bowl that they like nobody wants to be in it because it's just a fucking flag football game. That's bullshit. And they're just like,
Well,
what the
the
fuck? Nobody
fact
cares.
that of the AFC, and we just talked about how they have so many great quarterbacks or whatever, the fact that Tyler Huntley is the third AFC quarterback in the Pro Bowl proves how garbage the Pro Bowl is. Like, just from a standpoint of like, why would anybody want to do this? Josh Allen basically said, oh, I'm too hurt to play in it, and then is instead doing a golf tournament the same day as the Pro Bowl. So, like,
Nobody cares about the Pro Bowl
like
anymore.
honestly, what is even
They
the
took
point of it?
I don't know. I don't know what the point of any of the All-Star games or Pro Bowl games. It's all about money at
Okay.
that point. Again, I told you I thought it was the dumbest thing that they moved it out of Hawaii because it's supposed to be a vacation for the elite, for the people who made it. And it's really bothersome that they just stripped that out of there and they made it into Vegas. Um, because I mean, you're going to be going with your families. Why? Vegas is not a family town. It's honestly not even a great tourist town anymore. Everything's way too expensive. Trust me, live here. Um, but yeah, it it just it's really silly to me that nobody cares about the All-Star game. And it's not just this sport. The All-Star game for everything, like, nobody cares. Nobody cares. NHL, a couple of people opted out, and that switched up a few of the All-Star people that made it. People just don't care about the All-Star game. LeBron wants to, in the NBA, he wants to do his uh, All-Star game because he wants to be the captain of the picking the best team 5 years in a row or whatever it is, 5 or 6. It's just they're doing it. If they do it, they're doing it for like a silly reason, or they just don't give a shit. The MLB was always used to be a fun one because with the MLB at least used to be it determined who got home field advantage. Like people would actually play. They treated it like another game, and people's debate with that was, oh well, then they're getting injured and they're not helping their team. Um, if they get injured, they're not going to help their team, the rest of the season, which is shitty. So we should get rid of that meaning and not have it be um, as significant. I'm just talking about all our all-star games right now and how like nobody cares, and not even where it used to be fun in the MLB, but with as I was saying, like nobody cares about the MLB one anymore. It used to be great, and people, if they did get hurt in that game, so be it. Because if they won that game and their team made it to the World Series, they got home field advantage. So there was a reason to play. It wasn't just like, hey, come to the All-Star game, play your hardest, and if you get injured and your team wins, you get nothing. No, if you get injured and your team wins, you have a shot to host the World Series. So they need to do stuff like that again in all sports to make it more meaningful, because nobody gives a shit about it anymore. It's a horrible all-star shit. Is just horrible. It should just be a skills competition, and they shouldn't even host a game.
Yeah, you should just be named an all-star, or first team, or whatever label you want to put on it. We don't need to see the only game that is played. I think I've watched one Pro Bowl in my life, and by 5 minutes into it, you're just like, okay, nobody's really playing. Like
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares. Like nobody wants to get hurt, especially playing like in the Pro Bowl. And
that's what I'm saying. It needs to mean something. And like with the MLB one, it meant something. And people's argument to that, and just this would go for any all-star game, is why in the hell would you play and get injured and then you're out for the rest of the season? Make it make it mean something. Make it mean something.
Yeah. Well, then really the only all-star game I like watching is the NBA. And even then, that doesn't actually become like a game until it's the last like 2 minutes, and then they actually start trying to win. And that's where you see, what you wanted the whole game to be, which is all-stars on all-stars, like best players in the league actually playing offense.
All-star and all-star crime.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's great. And then it's fantastic, and you love watching it. And then, you're like, why wasn't the rest of the game previous to these 2 minutes like this? But let's get into the rest of the coaches, and then we'll dive into some other sports and head out of here. So for other offensive coordinators, the only real big name that was left was Kellen Moore, former offensive coordinator for the Cowboys, is now the offensive coordinator for the Chargers, which first, before we talk about how we think he's going to do with the Chargers and that offense, what do you think happened with him and the Cowboys? And do you just think it was Mike McCarthy basically being like, I am the guy in charge and I want to call the plays, blah, 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 blah? Do you think it was a power move by McCarthy?
Yeah, actually, I do. I think he's learning a little bit from Jerry Jones, where Jerry Jones is like, I rule the world. Like, I rule the world. I rule the world. Yeah. But I do think it was a McCarthy thing. If not McCarthy, I think it was McCarthy and Jones pressuring McCarthy to make that decision. Yeah, I whatever.
I mean, how could it not be, right? Like,
it has to be.
He was clearly the one where it was like, if McCarthy is not going to be the coach of the Cowboys, like he would be the one they were going to promote to head coach, right? The offense, since he came into Dallas as the offensive coordinator, let me pull this up right here. I saw this tweet by Mina Kimes on Twitter earlier. Since Moore became the OC of the Cowboys, they've had the 7th highest average depth of target in the NFL. And that means they are averaging 8.3 yards per play, and we're always a top 5 offense in the league. Like, how does that guy... Also, the issue with the Cowboys this year was not their offense. It was what the issue has always been with the Cowboys, which is time management, clock management, and then not showing up in the big games. Like, that's not on your OC. That's more on your head coach.
We talked about it all the time. People talk about it all the time that, Dallas, they show up against bad teams, and then against good teams, they're like, oh, wait, football?
Yeah. And we saw that against the Niners where they scored what, 12 points? Like,
Yeah.
so
And
to
then
put that
and
game,
they thought, I love that, and I thought that they were gonna go like, say they did win that game, they struggled against the Niners, and the Eagles blew out the Niners.
well, I
Ugh.
mean, yeah, but the Eagles, they're overrated all season.
Yeah,
That's the thing, Casino.
they're gonna win the
The
Super Bowl.
Cowboys
They're gonna put an asterisk, like, over the Eagles if they win the Super Bowl this year and just be like, "Well, the team was mediocre."
on speaking of next
Sorry.
Thursday's podcast, I'm already compiling a list. It's going to be our big Super Bowl preview. Uh Prepare for me to murder you all with just stats and lines and
Can I bring
Super Bowl
popcorn?
hot
Let me ask you,
takes.
should I bring popcorn?
Yes. Get your
Okay.
popcorn ready, and then I want you to wear a football helmet and just throw it into your football helmet.
I have my
Like
football helmet beanie.
that would work. That would
Okay.
work. Wear that next Thursday. But now let's get into the head coaches, and then this will be our last NFL topics, and then next week will be all about the Super Bowl. But other things have been happening in the NFL before the Super Bowl. Before we get into the head coaches, I have one question for you, Casino.
Mhm.
Should the NFL coaching hires not be allowed to happen till after the Super Bowl?
100%. Yes.
I don't get this like shit where it's just like, oh yeah, we want to hire a bunch of coaches from the Super Bowl, so let's just schedule interviews with them in the 2 weeks between the championships and the Super Bowl. It's like, why? Why are we doing it this way? Is it not like the second the Super Bowl ends, then you can start interviewing coaches, but before then you'll get fined, it's collusion, you can't talk to anybody. What what good is this? I don't even understand why it's just like, all right, uh and it always happens this way. It's not when the regular season ends. It's when the championships, the AFC and the NFC championships happen, then it's like, all right, let's start hiring coaches. And it's like, okay, but don't you want to interview the best coaches on the team, on the two best teams that are going to the Super Bowl? Like, why would you not just fucking wait till the Super Bowl ends? Like, I don't get the rush. But it's fucking annoys the shit out of me. That being said, the let's just start with the biggest hire, which is Sean Payton is going to the Broncos casino.
I love
Uh
it.
Thoughts on that?
I'm glad that he's going to be coaching. I really am. I like him a lot. Not really.
Yeah. I've always liked
Here's
Sean
the thing.
Payton.
I like he is a good coach. Maybe not the greatest person, you know, with doing the
Yeah.
having
He's
the hits
I would
out and
want
whatnot to
him.
people. I lost you.
Yeah. I'd want him to be the head coach of my team. I don't think I would want to be like Buddy. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Like,
that's good. Fair.
I feel like Nick Sirianni, like, I like that he's the head coach of my team, and I would also go out with a beer with him. Like, I don't feel
You
like
mean a
Sean Payton would be a
cider,
good hang. I don't know.
a
But
cider,
again, yeah, a
or Crown
cider. I do love
Apple?
ciders, but I do love Crown Apple. That both of those are what I will be drinking Super Bowl. Also, you coming to the bar for Super Bowl casino?
I thought we were doing it at your house.
Hawk and Leah will be there. No, we were gonna
I
have a
thought we were doing
party.
your
We
house.
couldn't logistically make it work. No, we
Yeah.
couldn't
All right.
logistically make it work. So we're going to the Eagles bar, and you're invited.
I'm sure Brittany and I could drop off the kid. But the night
Yeah,
before,
buddy.
you and I already might be hanging out the night before. Also, so just and Hawk, just FYI. You'll
Yeah,
find out.
let's do it.
You'll find out soon.
This is. But for Sean Payton, he was still under contract with the Saints, so they technically had to trade for him, which is also weird
Again,
because
and
it's
it's
like,
why are you doing that? Yeah.
well, the weird thing is, why wouldn't he just go back to the Saints and coach? Like, didn't he just want to break from coaching? Why wouldn't he just go back to the Saints? He's never
Maybe he
come
doesn't
out and
want to
said he
be
didn't
there.
like the Saints. Yeah,
Maybe he's
that's,
tired of New
I don't know.
Orleans, man. Maybe he's tired of New Orleans. He
But
wants out of there.
so the Broncos traded 3 first round picks, 3 or no, I'm sorry. So this is what it cost them to get both Russell Wilson and Sean Payton. 3 first round picks, 3 second round picks, a 2022 fifth round pick, Drew Lock, Noah Fant, Shelby Harris, and then the Broncos received Sean Payton, a 2022 fourth round pick, and a 2024 third round pick. So we both like Sean Payton as a coach, but Jesus, this fucking thing
That's
better
one of the
work.
that's one of the steepest packages I've ever seen. That's why
Whoa.
that's why Denver won the Willie for
Yeah, for just being a
the
complete fucking dumpster fire. Like
yeah.
you trade that much away to get 2 coaches. I was going to bring this up for the Super Bowl, but I think it's applicable to right now trading that many draft picks away. Casino, of each team in these Super Bowls, offensive starters just for the Eagles, their entire offense, how many of their starters starting in the Super Bowl did they either get via trade or via draft? So, how many of them are draft picks? There is, of course, 11 starters.
4.
So, out of every starting offensive player for the Eagles in the Super Bowl, 10 of 11 were through the draft. So they had Jalen Hurts, Miles Sanders, Devontae Smith, Quez Watkins, Dallas Goddard, Jordan Mailata, Landon Dickerson, Travis Kelsey, Samalu, and Lane Johnson were all through the draft for the Eagles. The only one who was not was AJ Brown, which they traded for. And they didn't give up, they gave up a pick when they already had another one. So with the Chiefs, it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that they did through the draft. So this like notion that draft picks mean nothing, like one of the teams with the youngest and best rosters in the league built their entire team through the draft and every year trade away older players to acquire more picks. So with this Broncos, it's like you're doing the Los Angeles Rams approach, which it won them a Super Bowl, right? But then we've seen what happened the year after they won the Super Bowl, which is like, oh yeah, we have no youth to add to this team. All our older guys are more susceptible to getting hurt. All our older guys did get hurt, and now we're in the toilet. But guess what? We're in the toilet without any ammo to reload. Like
Yeah. I
we have
mean, because
no
they also don't have any money.
yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's with the older guys you trade for, you're going to pay. Not only are you going to pay a premium, you're going to lose draft picks. And then it's just like literally the Denver Broncos are like, all right, all our money and picks are going to 2 guys. If one of those 2 guys, not even both of them, one of those 2 guys doesn't work out, we're fucked. If Sean Payton can't put together a good staff and schemes like we were talking about, the Broncos are fucked. If Russell Wilson plays like he did last year, they're fucked. Like this just seems like a very slim chance of winning and a 99% chance of like blowing up in their face. I don't know. What's your approach to building through the draft, which as we've seen can be like risky, right? Like most draft picks are bust, so you never really know. But the opposite approach is building through trades and free agency, which means you're always going to lose or you're always going to pay more for a premium and lose potential like rebuilding material.
So, I mean, the Patriots, they lived off of not pulling anybody out of the draft for the most part. Theirs are always just like, let me find this diamond in the rough and coach him. So,
Yeah.
again, coaching is big. So, hopefully, this Sean Payton thing works out. Um, I mean, any which way can work. it just has to be executed correctly. You have to know if you're gonna do the draft way, you have to do like what the Eagles do. You have to know what you're getting and put a full team together around those picks. You
Yeah.
just have to. You can't just be like, well, hopefully he could fill in and get into our scheme. He did good in college. No, they pulled together an entire team that would all meld well together in how they play football. So you could do it
Yeah.
that way. You could just be a really good coach and, like what Belichick did for a lot of people. I mean, he went and grabbed fucking Julian Edelman, who was a quarterback, and was like, "No, you're going to play wide receiver." And Julian Edelman won a fucking MVP in the Super Bowl to be wide receiver. Like
Yeah.
coaching, you could do that. So hopefully the Sean Payton thing works, and he can reel in Russell Wilson because that's your issue. That's your biggest thing. Fuck that guy.
Yeah.
He's a piece of
Well,
shit.
also, I think both what your and my team did was they had really great teams assembled through the draft and through finding diamonds in the rough and stuff like that. And then they would do the very smart thing where with your Patriots, it was like, we're missing one big piece. So we're going to trade for Randy Moss. For the Eagles, they were like, we have everything
That
but
never
a
panned out
giant.
for us.
Yeah, I mean, you guys almost one win away from being undefeated. But and then with the Eagles, they were like, we have a great offense, but we need that one big offensive weapon. And then they traded for AJ Brown. Like it's always, I
And
like
that
the
worked out.
teams. Yeah. I like the teams that assemble through the draft and like free agency, but not the big free agent splashes. And then they go, we're missing one guy. And then they make a trade for that one guy. I hate this approach, which is the Broncos, where it's just like, all right, well, let's do the big trade for Russell Wilson. And then we'll also just do another big trade for Sean Payton because the first one didn't work. And it's just like, why would you do the exact same thing twice when the first thing didn't work? Like it's mind-boggling to me. I don't know, but do I think this will work? I think it'll work a lot better than last year with Fangio. But again, like you just said, it really is all on Russell Wilson. If he still plays like dog shit, no amount of coaching can make
If
him.
he plays like how I feel right now,
Yeah,
he would win. He may be 500. He may be able to get into the Super Bowl or into the postseason.
The
Maybe.
last, what is it? The last big hires we got to talk about are Frank Wright being hired by the Panthers and then DeMeco Ryans being hired by the Texans. Give me one sec, Casito, and just touch on those ones.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Texans, I still think are going to be kind of screwed over and all. Decent coach coming in, but you know what? That team they got rid of everybody. So far, yes, they showed some fight there towards the end, but there's a lot of pieces that team is missing. So, hopefully, if they do a decent, if they're a little decent next year, and it is due to coaching, but they don't make the playoffs, but they'd make an improvement. I hate when teams they don't look at the improvement. They look at like, oh, well, you still didn't make us the playoffs. Get out of here. It's going to be hard, especially in the NFL, current day NFL, with your salary caps. Sorry, with your salary caps and with players demanding more money and kind of almost doing the NBA thing where they want to make like super teams. That you're going to need pieces and they're going to be hard to come by because people don't want to go play in Texas. Like who would? Also, and I'll flip it over to the Panthers side. I think there's a much more bright spot for them. Yes, they got rid of McCaffrey this year, so they got rid of one of their big weapons. Yes, they got rid of Baker Mayfield. Baker left, but I still feel like that team has a lot more potential moving forward. That team seems like they want to be a team together, other than the Texans. So, yeah. So while BJ's gone, let's see here. Looking at his wonderful wall of things, as you can tell, he's a nerd. For those who aren't able to watch and they're only here to listen, he's got an Eagles license plate cover. He's got it Back to the Future, Jaws. He's a big nerd when it comes to movies. He's got his favorite Green Lantern up there. He's more of a DC guy than a. I'm on a tangent now. DC guy than a Marvel guy. Oh, hi. I touched a little bit on the coaches, but I don't really know the coaches all that well. So I just said that the Texans, they're going to need a better team. Coaching is going to be tough to do with that team, and to try to get players in, people aren't going to want to do that. Also, but the Panthers, I think they have a little bit more promise. That team actually wants to play together, it seems like, even though they got rid of some main pieces. By the way, you're still on mute. I can see your little mute thing. But then I said, you know what? Let's start talking about the things on BJ's wall. And I said, you're more of a DC guy and you like Green Lantern.
I do. And excited to see what James Gunn does with his lineup, which did include Green Lantern. But the thing I will touch on D'Amico Ryans, it's cool that he's coming home. And I saw the whole thing today where they were like, did the whole banner in the organization and said like, welcome home and all that stuff. That's cool. He was obviously a big reason why that 49ers defense was so good the past couple seasons he's been there. So, but we've been talking about this. The issue is the translation from coordinator to head coach. It's never really certain that just because you're a great coordinator, you're going to be a great coach, right? We've talked about, Vic Fangio gets paid the most maybe ever, I believe. I think I saw somewhere where it was the most ever paid to a coordinator because he was such he's such a damn good defensive coordinator. But again, as a head coach, just couldn't cut it. Now, maybe he'll get another chance down the road. We obviously saw in Cleveland, Bill Belichick wasn't a great coach there. Different situation, different things fell into place, and now he's maybe the greatest coach ever. So, yeah, Casito's dancing on the thing. But the coaches that are left is the Cardinals and Colts for head coaching jobs. I'm assuming somebody from the Eagles staff or somebody from the Chiefs staff will probably get one or both of those jobs. Maybe a dark horse candidate. We don't know, but I feel like I feel like those haven't been filled because we still have a football game going on, which is why this shouldn't have happened. The coaching hires shouldn't happen till after, but yeah, who gives a shit? Casito, anything to talk about in the NHL before we talk about the NBA and get out of here?
Really nothing all too different. The Bruins are still crushing. The biggest thing, it just happens to go with our team, the Knights. They're struggling pretty hard right now. They are now currently sitting third in the Pacific with Oilers a game in hand who could tie, and I think would have they have a better goal diff, and I think they have us head to head right now as well. So they would hop us, and we would be out of the playoffs right now if we lose. But we do have
crazy
2 games.
thing with,
we have 2 games in hand against the Kings. I still think the Knights will get it figured out. They're a little riddled with injury, but very impressive with Kraken. Their big question is, are the Kraken for real? Yes, the Kraken are for real this year. They have time to slip. They still have a little over 30 games for them after the All-Star break. The Golden Knights, they have exactly 31 more games. So there's a shot still for the Knights to get it turned around. This would just be a bad thing where they were almost leading the Pacific going into they were like a week shy of leading the Pacific going into the All-Star break. And last year they were actually the best team in the league at the All-Star break, and they didn't make the playoffs. And if that happens again, that's going to be real rough. But yeah, the Bruins are still on record-breaking pace. They're crushing it. And then the Kraken are cracking through the breaks there. But they've done really well.
Just looking at this,
that's your biggest one is Kraken have surged and the Knights have faltered. Besides that, everybody else is pretty much where they have been.
Is the NHL season too long? It
Oh no,
started it started in September. The regular season ends in April, and then they do playoffs for like 2 months. That's a
no.
long fucking season.
It's a long
Ugh.
season, but it's only 82 games for the regular season, and then for most clubs, that's it. I don't think it's too long. I enjoy it.
Let's see. The NBA, they also start what in September, and then I guess they also end in like June. So I
Well,
don't know. Maybe just
you wanna know the great thing about the NHL players? How many games are in the NBA season, regular season?
I believe it's 82, 83.
Oh, isn't that so funny on how, NBA players, they need time management, yet hockey players are out there on ice, scrunched down, hunkered over, gonna get back problems and knee problems out there on the ice, but yet they're there in every game that they can be. Just throwing that out there. NBA
I
stars are
mean,
crybabies. I'm sorry. Fuck the load management bullshit. That's bullshit. It's
yeah, but they're
bullshit.
also usually like freakishly proportioned. I don't know if you've ever seen a 6'11" person in person, but it's like, how are you walking? Like, let alone running up and down the court and like doing slam dunks. It
Okay,
looks
cool.
painful for NBA people to move.
Yeah, but you know what? They're also not getting chucked into boards and slammed onto the ice and cross-checked in the back with pieces of wood, taking pucks at the kneecap at, 100 miles an hour.
That's true. Yeah,
Just saying.
I agree. Uh, so let's
LeBron James gets punched in the face. Just say it. Punched in the face,
well,
loses a tooth. He's gone for 3 weeks. 3 weeks.
well,
Hockey player
let's
will be
actually
back in the next play. Sorry. I have an issue with the
let's
NBA. I wish the
segue.
NBA used to be like back in the day, back when they actually let them be physical.
This is classic old man yells at clouds newspaper headline right here.
It's
And we
call
love
me a
it.
boomer. Call me a boomer. I'll get my newspaper
Thank
out.
you. That was I don't know what he's doing in here, but Grandpa Simpson just walked into Casino's room and grabbed the mic.
And I'm walking
But,
back out with my hat.
um, but speaking of
I'm
LeBron
sick, okay?
James,
So I'm just angry.
Speaking of LeBron James, he is any day now going to break the career points record, which is fucking crazy. He is at the moment, he is only 63 career points away from the all-time an all-time record that most people thought would never be broken. So for him to be playing, I'm not a LeBron James fan, but to not like for people who don't like him or like don't respect him or his game or whatever, this is like, yeah, this I don't understand how you could not. This is one of the most impressive things we've seen
I
in
mean,
all
stats are
of
stats.
sports.
People are people. Like whether I hate A Rod, but is he a good baseball player? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and this for how dominant he still is, and like he's maybe right now just a top 8 player in the NBA, like playing at that level, and to be this good this late in your career. I mean, he is 38 years old, which in the NBA is almost as ancient as, Tom Brady is in the NFL, because in the NBA, obviously, he started playing when he was 18. So to be in the league for this long, to still be this dominant, and for him to break this record, which when he finishes, he's going to be a couple thousand points past the record. And then I really think it will be unbreakable. Like, I don't think, unless they make a 4-point shot or make it so you can score more points in a game, I don't think people will play as long as he does, for as long as he did, and to be as dominant for his entire career as he has been. It's really fucking
Well, I mean,
remarkable.
that's kind of like with the Ovechkin thing in hockey. Once he beats, he's still got a lot of career left. At least I would say 3 to 5 years. Once he beats Wayne Gretzky's numbers, he's going to still continue. The dude could reach over
Yeah.
1,000 goals in his career, which is insane in hockey. So like
Yeah,
I totally agree with you. Like this LeBron stat is just if he when he hits, not if when he hits, it's literally a couple games away.
it's
That's just
probably
insane.
2.
Yeah, it's just
He's
insane.
been
I said a
averaging
couple. That's
almost
what a couple is. Couple means two.
yeah.
Just that.
He's
So no,
been
yeah, and no matter how
averaging
much I don't care for the guy, that is a record that is very impressive. And you got to tip your hat towards him because that's just a lot of scoring.
now for all the praise I just heaped upon him. His reaction to the no call foul in the Lakers Celtics game last, I believe, Friday. We
Yeah,
didn't talk in the
It was
NBA on
Saturday.
Tuesday.
Saturday.
On Saturday. That was one of the most ridiculous reactions I've ever seen to a call in my life. And I got secondhand embarrassment for the way he was reacting. Like, it was like he did that thing where he was like, doing the confused. And if that was just it, it would have been like, okay, fine, whatever. To fall on the court and then just be like, having your hands on your head and just be like, oh, like, just like shocked that happened. That's why people don't like you. Like, that is the epitome of it, which is he had a great game that game. You can have a great game that whole entire thing, and then you do something like that at the end where it just rubs you the wrong way. I'm not a LeBron James hater. He's never been on a team I've rooted for, and I've always rooted against him, but you can still respect, adversaries. So I've always respected his game and liked watching him play. But when he does shit like that, it's just like, oh, I get why people don't like you. Like, it's just secondhand embarrassment. It's fucking ugh.
Can't
Speaking
you just be
of,
like, oh, the other team had a good game as well?
well,
They're
it's the
pro
thing where
players.
it's like that. Well, this is the thing. It was an obvious foul the refs missed. It was an obvious foul. How many ticky-tack wasn't a foul has LeBron James gotten his entire career?
His
Probably
whole
more
career.
than like that egregious foul. So it's like, all right, you've gotten 5,000 calls. This one didn't go against you. It's okay. It's a regular season game in the NBA in January. Like, it means nothing. But again, just ugh. But now let's move over to the last thing I want to talk about. I was going to do a big All-Star thing, but I feel like we have a couple weeks before the All-Star game actually happens. I believe 2, so we can talk about that in a future episode. The thing that is current right now happened an hour before we started recording this podcast was, this might shock you, Casino. A person who basketball game I respect, but him as a person I hate so fucking much. I don't give a shit about his basketball. Is Kyrie Irving has come out and requested a
What a
trade
dick move. It's like
before
days before.
it is 6 days before the NBA trade deadline, and he has come out and demanded a trade from the Brooklyn Nets, almost a year to the date where he was giving James Harden so much shit for requesting a trade from this very team. Kyrie Irving, if you're a team that trades for him, I wish nothing but bad luck to you. He is a cancerous presence on every fucking team he goes to. Is he going to put up points? Like, yeah, he's going to put up points. He's going to win you games. He is also going to tear your team apart, make you fucking pull your own hair out of your head. All right, Casino, say adios to the people.
Adios, people. I got to go.
And now it's just me. But yeah, the Kyrie Irving thing, it's just like some type of news story will happen where he will then be a burden to the team, and it will just be yeah. I mean, I pretty much ranted about that. So I won't hold you up any longer if you're listening to this. Thanks for listening to the Only Sports Podcast. That was Casino. I've been Will. That's pretty much all we had to cover today. We will see you on next week when we'll dive more into the Super Bowl. Next week is Super Bowl week, obviously. This weekend, not so much. Sports going on. We're kind of getting to the all-star breaks with both NHL and NBA. So, yeah, next week should be fun. This has been the Only Sports Podcast. Adios.